All right. The cheap seats in the back. Can you guys hear me okay? All right. Awesome. Thank you guys. I was actually your age, about your age. I was in high school when my dad decided to move me and the entire family from a tiny little town that had less people in the whole city than you guys have here in this high school. And we moved from that town to San Francisco. I was your age. I didn't speak a word of English. And I moved to San Francisco, and I wanted, like everyone else, to fit in. I wanted to be the all-American kid. But what does the all-American kid look like? It's a little different now than it was when I was in high school. I had posters of Axl Rose, Guns N' Roses above my bed, and Alyssa Milano, and I don't know, what's the equivalent of that today? If you moved here from another country today and you wanted to be the all-American kid, what would that look like? Zac Efron. Okay, all right, Zac Efron. And I did everything I could to be that all-American kid, and that meant getting a paper route, delivering newspapers. I don't think you guys have that anymore. I don't know what the equivalent would be these days. Maybe a barista. Doing whatever you can to fit in and be the all-American kid. And that meant I didn't want to have an accent when I spoke English. And every time I said a word with an Israeli accent, friends would correct me. So pillow became pillow. And I was so adamant to be the all-American kid. And then that transitioned into an adult, and I wanted to be the all-American adult, the man, whatever that looks like, and what does success look like. And so I did the college thing, got a job. I was working at a law firm, was making really good money. I got the condo, I got the sports car. I did everything that we are told by society or media or whatever you can think of what success looks like. And one day, one of the other paralegals at the same law firm was celebrating her 30-year anniversary at the firm. She was working there for 30 years under fluorescent lights in a cubicle. And it terrified me because I realized there's got to be more to life than this. This is not what I imagined doing for my life. And I was working really hard, as they say in Fight Club, working jobs you hate so you can buy stuff you don't need to impress people you don't like. Right? It's ridiculous. And I got the opportunity when I moved from the Bay Area to Seattle to kind of reevaluate all my friendships and who all my friends were, because I was so concerned with fitting in when I was younger and meeting a lot of people that I did whatever they like to do. And I'm sure we do that. You think that in high school, that it's going to end after high school, but then in college, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to try to fit in whatever the crowd is. And that boils down to what kind of clothes you wear, what kind of music you listen to. I remember all my friends were really into alternative music. This is back in the Green Day, and who else? Nirvana was still around. Actually, just came out. And Radiohead and all of that stuff. And I liked it all, but I also really liked hip hop and R&B, but none of my friends did. So I was embarrassed. So I would buy these CDs. Oh, you guys don't even have CDs anymore. But I would buy these CDs and I would hide them. So when my friends came over, I was embarrassed that I liked music that they didn't. And I think this ties into a lot of, I have a friend who's a really big Justin Bieber fan, but all her friends hate Justin Bieber. So she pretends to hate Justin Bieber just so she can fit in, but secretly she listens to him all the time. So it's this really interesting vicious cycle that never really ends. You think it's just high school, but it's into adulthood where my greatest teacher said that we eat with our eyes and our ears, not just with our mouths. And so we are consumers. We're eating information with our eyes and our ears through Instagram, through YouTube, through, I don't know where else you guys get your information of what's hip and what's cool and what's wonderful. But we consume that, and then we try to lead our lives to appear as successful and wonderful and sexy as, what, Zac Efron? Is that what it was? And I did that. I was the chunky kid in high school, and I didn't like that. My friend used to pick me up to go out, and when I would get in her car, she said, "Timber, you always smell the same. You smell like fried chicken." And I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to be known for the guy who smells like fried chicken. And so when I graduated high school, I decided I'm not going to eat fast food anymore. I'm not going to eat meat. I'm going to lose all the weight. I'm going to have the six-pack. I'm going to be a stripper. Because I was so self-conscious about my looks, and I thought the only way I'm going to feel good about the way I look is if other people pay me to take my clothes off. I didn't plan on what I'm going to tell you guys today, and let me tell you, if I did plan, that wasn't going to be part of the plan.
You're doing good.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And so I did it. I went out and I became a stripper. It's true. I didn't have a six pack. I had an 8-pack. I was in really, really good shape. But when I looked in the mirror, the chunky, pale, fat kid was still staring back at me. Because what I had done is I changed my exterior, but inside I still felt unworthy. I still felt like I was trying to appease others rather than me. What was it about me? What does Timber like to do? And it had nothing to do with what other people thought I should like or should do, whether it be my parents or peers. And an interesting thing happened when I moved to Seattle is I took a 50% pay cut. I went from making a whole lot of money to making half as much, but I was twice as happy. So immediately a light bulb went off that how happy I am has nothing to do with how much money I'm making, which is very different than what we're told throughout most of our lives, right? We're in a culture of more, make more money, buy a bigger house, buy a bigger car, you'll be happy. But I did that. I had the condo, I had the sports car, I had a killer body, and I was still miserable. And so I realized that I'm trying to live somebody else's life, not my own. So realizing that how happy I am has nothing to do with how much money I was making gave me an opportunity to look at what do I really like to do. And it did not involve working 60 hours a week under fluorescent lights in a cubicle. I'm a beach volleyball player. I just wanted to be on the beach. I just wanted to go kayaking. I wanted to live in Hawaii, not just visit Hawaii once every 5 years for 2 weeks, but live there. And what we essentially are, our lives are, is a collection of our choices. We make our own choices. We pay our own prices. So I decided that the things that I thought were really important for a while, like the car and the condo and all that, were not really that important, because the price of that car is not the dollar value. It's that you have to work 60 hours a week for 10 years to be able to afford it. The condo, the house, the mortgage, the kids, all of that. The price value of that is not... It's what I tell people when they ask me why I don't have a brand new iPhone. It's not because the iPhone, I don't know how much they are, even like $500 or whatever they are. It's not that. It's that I would have to work. So I started doing this math in my head when I was working a job I didn't like, of how many hours do I have to work to be able to afford this thing? And that changes your appreciation for your time a lot more. Does that make sense? Like, if you have a job that you don't like, first of all, why are you working a job you don't like is the first question you got to ask yourself. Find out what you like to do and do that, and trust me, it'll pay. But if you're thinking, oh my gosh, I had to work 3.5 months to be able to afford this iPad, was it worth it? Because of course, a month later, they're going to come out with a new iPad that's going to make yours extinct, and then you're going to want a new one and a new one. It's a never-ending cycle. And that's when I discovered the benefits of gratitude, and by being grateful, because there are two ways to be rich. One is keep thriving more and more and more to get more of what you want, more of what you want, more of what you want. The other one is just be grateful for what you have. Well, that sounds a whole lot faster and a whole lot more sustainable. And that's what I love about gratitude, is it changes what it redefines what enough means to us. And when you realize that you have enough, you live in abundance constantly, and we do have enough. And I think that the greatest way to tap into that is travel. When you see how other people in the rest of the world, live, and what poverty really looks like, then you'll never ever say, I'm starving. And you'll never ever say, oh my gosh, my life is so hard. Our problems are first world problems for the most part. So gratitude plays a major role in how happy I'm. People ask me, are you always happy? And I said, I am. I'm not always in a good mood, but I'm always happy. And I'm always happy because I'm always grateful for what I have. It's gratitude that makes you happy, not happiness that makes you grateful, if that makes any sense. If you guys have any questions at any point, throw up your hands. That would be fantastic. But if not, I'll just keep babbling. But when we get into quantum physics and everyone leaves, I know I've gone too far. It's been an interesting journey for me to take a step back and realize that there are, in all of us, there's at least two voices in our heads that are constantly at war with one another. And even when we were kids, they were portrayed by a devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other, right? You guys still have cartoons, right? Yes. Okay, do they still have the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other? Okay, some things don't change. And one of my other favorite teachers, Michael Singer, says that to not identify with either one, but to realize that who you are is the observer watching those two have a fight. And that's a really great way to look at it, and then commit, like, do I want to be more like this person? Do I want to be more like that person? And our decisions, we can make them instead of them being made for us. And I know that it's tough to think about now that you're in high school and it feels like your parents make all your decisions for you. But once you're 18, you can pretty much do whatever you want. And the greatest gift, I think, my relationship with my dad change is that we stopped looking at each other as father son, and we started looking at each other as adults as soon as we turned 18. It was an important transition in our relationship to honor one another as equal adults, and I stopped trying to impress him. There's a chapter in the first book where my dad, who's always known me to be this successful guy working at this law firm and had all this imported Italian furniture, his nice wardrobe, gave it all up and moved to Hawaii. And he wanted to understand what my new life was all about. And he came to visit me in Hawaii. And as soon as the door opened, he just stood there in shock. And he said, "My God, you don't have anything." But he spent a month living with me, cooking with me, walking with me, going to the beach with me. And he got to experience my life and how rich it is. And at the airport, when he left, he gave me a hug with tears in his eyes. And he said, "There's nothing missing from your life." And both of those statements are true. I don't have anything. I drive a little smart car, and everything I own fits in that little smart car. So I don't have anything, but there's nothing missing from my life. Does that make sense? That the important stuff. In fact, there's a story, I don't know if you guys have heard it, and I hope I don't butcher it, that a teacher told this story to his class. Oh, I hope I don't butcher it. He held up a large glass jar, and he filled it with golf balls. Do you guys know this story? Yeah? Okay, then tell me if I ruin it, those of you who know it. He filled it with golf balls, and he asked the class, is the jar full? And of course, they all say yes. And then he takes a bunch of marbles, and he throws them into the jar, and they all fill in the empty gaps and goes, "Is the jar full?" And they go, "Yes." Then he takes a bunch of sand and he pours it into the jar, and they all start laughing, and he goes, "Now is it full?" And they go, "Yes." Then he takes a couple of cups of tea or coffee and he pours it in, and that fills in the rest of the gap. "Bless you." And he asks, "Is it full?" And they go, "Yes." So far, am I ruined it? No? Okay, good. And so the balls and the marbles and the sand, they represent different things in our lives. Some of them are more important than others. And the stuff that we normally worry about, the day-to-day stuff, our hair color and our muscles, and I don't know what else, that's not really important in the big scheme of things. That's like the sand. That's the stuff that doesn't really, really matter. But we tend to worry about that a lot. And then there's marbles, like where you work and where you live and all that stuff. And then there's the big stuff, the golf balls. And that's your relationship with a higher power, whatever that may be. You can call it God if that's okay with you. You can call it Bob if you prefer. I have a good friend, sends all his prayers out to Bob. It's great. And family and your health and all of those things, those are the golf balls. Those are the things that really matter. Now, if you spend your entire life filling up your jar with the stuff that doesn't matter, being so concerned with the small things, you're not going to have any room left for the stuff that really does matter. Does that make sense? Did I ruin that metaphor analogy thing? No? Okay, good. So even though when I was young, my dad told me a story about a fisherman who goes out to sea every day, catches a fish, comes home, takes a nap, gets up, cooks it for his family. They all eat dinner. Then they all stay up really, really late playing the guitar and having a good time, and then sleeping in the next day and repeating that cycle over and over again. And then one day he's out on his boat about to take it out to catch more fish, and a businessman from New York sees him and he goes, I've been standing on this pier all week, and I'm watching you every day go out, only catch 1 or 2 fish, come back, and that's all you do. Why don't you stay out longer and catch more fish?" And the guy goes, "Well, 1 or 2 is all I need." And he's like, "Well, if you stay out longer, then you can catch more fish." And he goes, "And then what?" "Well, then you can sell those fish and make more money." He goes, "And then what?" "Well, then you can take that extra money and buy a bigger boat." He goes, "Oh, and then what?" "Well, then you can have more people come with you. You can catch even more fish, stay out even longer, make even more money, buy more boats." And then what? Well, then you don't even have to work. You can just have a whole bunch of people working for you, and you can just manage the enterprise from far away. You can move to New York. You can do all that, and you can just have people working for you, and you have an entire enterprise catching and selling and fish and all. He goes, and then what? That's the best part. Then you can retire. You can move to a little village somewhere. You can sleep in late every day. Go out, catch maybe 1 or 2 fish. And you know how the story ends. And my dad told me that story when I was a little kid, and I thought it was great, and I didn't understand why so many people work so hard to make more and more and more, only to end up where they essentially started. And I was on that path. Like I said, I was working that full-time job, and I was miserable. And perhaps I needed to do that in order to then take a step back and realize that that's not what's really important. That's not my way to happiness. But I'm glad I stopped as early as I did, as young as I was, before celebrating my 30-year anniversary at the firm, and decided that I essentially want a simple and uncomplicated life. And I think we all do. We all want our lives to be simpler and less complicated. And yet we complicate it ourselves. That's the tricky thing. The invitation I have for everyone is to look at our own lives and go, how am I contributing to my own suffering? Because we live in an environment and in a society that tends to blame other people for our problems. Other people are not your problems. It's not that other people piss you off. No, it's that you're so prone to getting pissed off. I mean, you can say something offensive to me, but I can choose not to be offended. Does that make sense? I know it's hard to hear because we like to blame other people. Well, if they were nice, I wouldn't have this problem. They're not the problem. Eleanor Roosevelt said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. So if I was to tell you, you look terrible in purple, but you're confident and you like the way you look in purple, you're going to be like, well, screw you. I like purple. But most people are going to go home and throw away everything they have that's purple because one person said they look terrible in purple. And I think there's really tremendous benefit in having confidence in our decisions and our choices in life. Because then we don't need to have other people validate our decisions for us. Am I making any sense at all? It's so imperative for us to, and the way to get to that place where we are comfortable with our decisions, with our beliefs, is by being okay with other people believing the exact opposite of what we believe. I know that's really hard to hear, but the opposite of what you know is true for somebody somewhere because of their time, place, and circumstance. The exact opposite. As true and real as your reality is to you, the exact opposite is true and real for somebody else somewhere else. So when somebody comes up to me and says, Timber, the sky is green, I don't need to prove them wrong. I don't need to yell at them, no, it's not, it's blue. I don't need to feel good about myself to feel superior by making someone else inferior. I don't need to do that. So ask yourself, when you jump up, when somebody says something that you think is wrong and you need to correct them, what is that about? Why? Is that the only way we can feel good about ourselves? Making ourselves right by making someone else wrong? So when someone tells me, Timber, the sky looks green, I just walk away from that experience knowing that to some people, the sky looks green. That's okay. How green they see it does not at all jeopardize how blue it is for me. I can live on with my life, with my blue sky, and they can live on with their green. Does that make sense? Does that sound a lot easier than going through your entire life fighting everyone and trying to fix everyone, trying to get everyone to see the world you do, and trying to get everyone to think that everything is as important as you think it is? There's a story, I don't know, well, even if it's not appropriate, I'm already up here. It was in LA, and there's this one woman who is an environmentalist. I think I included you. Where's Heidi? Oh, you said you finished the new book history. I think I included the story with the environmentalist in LA who saw the guy throw his soda can. Did I include that in the new book? Okay, I did. I'm going to share it even before you take the mic away from me. This woman really cares about the environment a lot. And she's sitting there and she's watching this guy throw his soda can in the trash can instead of the recycling bin that was right next to it. And it just makes her furious. And she just lashes out and she's like, what are you doing? Don't you care about the environment? Isn't this important to you? And I love this guy. He just looked at her and he said, lady, I just had a bacon double cheeseburger with a Pepsi and I'm about to smoke another cigarette. Clearly, I don't care about my own health. What makes you think I give up about the environment? Right? I mean, think about it. It's so important for us to know our audience because we get so upset that someone is doing something because their priorities aren't the same as ours. We have to honor that every person is in their life at this time doing everyone is doing what they think is going to make them happy. So when you're looking at someone and go, why did she wear that today? Because she thought she looks good in it. That's why. Leave her alone. Why is that person working there? Because they think that's their path to happiness. And the moment they figure out it's not, they're going to quit and they're going to move somewhere else. They're going to do something else. They're going to marry someone else. They're going to get a new job. Allow everyone to find happiness in their own way that they think is best. And that's how they'll allow you to do the same. Does that sound doable? Does that sound okay? You're coming here to take the mic away from me.
You have like 4 minutes.
4 more minutes.
Stories or open up the floor and
Yeah, if you guys have any questions or anything. Oh, they're not prizes, they're free stickers. I love how she tries to.
It's like the yin and yang right there.
Yeah,
It's
seriously.
so relaxed. It's Resnik. It's so amazing. You have him here. Right? So, anyway,
But seriously, I'm not a teacher. I'm not a master. I'm not a guru of anything. I'm just a sharer. All I do is share my life openly, vulnerably. I mean, it's we all have social media accounts and we all share the highlights of our lives, but that's not real. I saw a post online the other day that said, "May your life one day be as wonderful as you pretend it is on Facebook." May it really be. Yeah, go ahead. I'll repeat the question for other people who can't hear it. Don't worry. Why am I not wearing shoes? In a nutshell, I'm more comfortable barefoot, but I also feel, I don't know, more connected to the earth, more just bare, more me, if that makes any sense. The shoes, the constriction, the confinement, why am I not wearing robes? I took the monastic vows back in 2008. I wanted to lead a simple life, and I didn't know that was going to snowball into me living in a monastery. But the pendulum swung to that extreme, yes, from a stripper to a monastery. But the beauty of that pendulum is at some point it passed the middle point of how can I take what I learn from all these incredible gurus and whatnot, but apply it into my day-to-day life. Because yes, of course, life is simple if you're living in a monastery and you don't have to worry about anything, but how can I be that calm, that peaceful in the middle of traffic? Well, first thing is, you guys are some of you have your driver's license already, some of you are going to soon. And what I hear people say all the time is, I'm stuck in traffic. You are traffic. Okay, saying I'm stuck in traffic implies that everyone else is in your way. You're on the road just like they're on the road. We're all connected. We're all each other's problem, but we're all each other's solution. So the idea is to make that separation between you and others and realize we're all in this together. So, yeah.
I imagine you've made some money on your books.
Mm-hmm.
What have you done with the money?
So I was just asked, I imagine you've made some money on your books. What have you done with the money? So the first fantasy I'd like to dispel, because I'm trying to get caught up on pop culture. I haven't watched TV since 99. Is that when you guys were born? I don't know, but that's the last time. And yesterday I had a friend over and I forget that the house I'm staying with has a microwave. I haven't used a microwave in years, and I forget that you have that option. Anyway, and I started watching these old shows, getting caught up on pop culture, and some of them have featured authors, and they're like, oh yeah, my publisher just bought me a Mercedes, and my publisher just did this, and there's this illusion that authors make a lot of money. Well, let me tell you, it's pennies for each book. But I made a commitment because I've been living off of about $7,000 to $8,000 a year for the last 12 years of my life, because that's all I need. Now, does the book make money? Of course the book makes money, and that money goes right back to the book, which means schools. There are 5 high schools in this county and LA County, because we're in Ventura, right, that have made the first book part of their required reading curriculum. So that means thousands of copies of the book are given to students, and they read it, they study it, and then I show up and I talk to them. It's a lot of fun. But there's also a lot of red tape. How do you get around the administration? Well, if the books are donated, then there's no need to get a board approval for it. So a lot of that money goes back to distributing books to schools, prisons. All the prisons across the US, UK, and Australia have free copies of the book for inmates who get free yoga and meditation classes. And then I go and I talk to inmates, which is incredible. Oh, that's my cue, huh? But that's a lot of the money goes right back to supporting schools and prisons. Anyway, thank you guys. Take stickers, put them on your lockers. I don't know if you're allowed to, but.
Yes, thank you to Timber and for all of you to be here. You guys just leave hold on, one sec. Just go ahead and leave everything. We'll get it straightened up. I do ask that you look around, though, and pick up all your trash for me. Make sure you give us the paper with your name on it. And if you want to come thank Timber, please feel free to come this way. Great job, kids. Thanks for being here.